one's doing this cars you should pick up video right now. So, figured I would do mine. Did one of these in Market Watch, but it's definitely kind of worth retouching on. The first one I actually want to touch on is going to go hand in hand with the release of Millennium Thousand Eyes Restrict, and it's actually going to be Instant Fusion. Now, the beginning of January here for testing, the OCG, there was a lot of Instant Fusions being played with a lot of Millennium Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now, if you haven't read Millennium Thousand Eyes Restrict, you would, based on the wording, you wouldn't think that they would want to go to it, because it's only gets the suck-up ability when your opponent activates a monster effect, and it's a quick effect. However, it is during either player's turn, and if it sucks up a monster, your opponent can't activate things of that same name. So, in some weird world, if you resolve Millennium before your opponent resolves a hand trap, or, you know, it's later as the game's going, you suck up an Ash Blossom, well, you know, golly gee willikers, Batman, that type of thing. But Instant Fusion is something that should probably be on your consideration list, because Link Repo's still not legal, and you have to understand that typically, just because we're in the window in between, like, hype and things like that, sure, like, it doesn't say it's legal yet, but things might go up as soon as it does get legal. Now, Millennium Thousand Eyes Restrict is coming out in, what, late February? So if you want to kind of get ahead of the curve right now, kind of pick up your Instant Fusions, kind of just hold them. Not every deck is going to be focusing on Instant Fusion, but for the most part, a very solid spot removal for the, what, pay 1,000 life points and turn it into a Link 1 with an arrow that points down to start terraforming zones. It's immediate value. A lot of people aren't going to see it, and a lot of people are going to disregard this, but for those of you that capitalize off of it, well, congratulations. The second big thing you should be considering at the moment is Trickstars. Now, I know, before you get out your pitchforks and you're like, well, they're getting the reprint in the Star Pack, under the assumption that anything happens to Reincarnation, you honestly can just pick up one Reincarnation and then the rest of the deck can be fine. It's probably the best solid deck core that you can invest in at the moment as a casual player wanting to get competitive. Now, I understand that a lot of players hate how Trickstars work, whether or not it's because of the burn mechanic or because you have to do other things in the deck, whether or not it be Link spam with Scapegoats, trying to pseudo abuse Grinder Golem with Akashic Magician, because, you know, we don't have Security Dragon, fucking thank God, and plus we have the new Trickstar card coming out. So I don't see any real reason why you couldn't pick up one Reincarnation Trickstars for, I want to say, like $40. Kadenias should only be 4s and Light Stages should be 3s. You might be pushing it at 40, but you goddamn should be able to do it. Very solid investment for later in the year if you are going to try to play a regional or try to attend the WCQ and you don't want to spend a lot of money. Granted, the extra deck's what's going to cost you, but you could play Eater of Millions and you can just banish off your extra deck. I'm pretty sure you can find 10 to 15 really bad extra deck cards. You know, just look around in people's booster packs at events, walk around with people, ask them for their commons before you sign up, and see if there's anything bad that you can throw in your extra deck for a budget standpoint. It's honestly probably the best route that you could go about for the deck. It's also not like you can't get Mrs. Radiance for $, and just make double Mrs. Radiant or something like that off of the Scapegoat. So, I mean, you don't need a Borreload for the deck, but it's of your own accord on which route you want to go with it as a budget player. It's honestly some very solid advice. If I was a budget player at the moment and I wanted to go about wanting to play a competitive deck, I would definitely go after Trickstars. It seems like the logically best choice for the amount of money versus the amount of return. Or you can wait until Star Pack, but I would definitely put it under your radar as something that you should probably start gathering the stuff for. We all know this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Next up, anything to do with needle fiber that you want to play. That's right. Fucking just doing lines of coke over here, because we don't know when the fuck we're getting this card. And I've said this 9,000 times over already. Needle fiber is going to be the defining point of 2018 in the first half. We don't have Summon Sorceress. We don't have Security Dragon. So we are going to have to do a couple of interesting things here. Yeah, oh, you bet your ass we're about to have Skull Deep. Oh, by the way, I tell you that Skull Deep's a card. But without Summon Sorceress, a lot of the OTKs and stuff that the OCG is going through, I don't think the TCG is going to have to endure, and I feel like they're going to keep Summon Sorceress as far away from the TCG as they can. You know, the ability to tag out, alternate into these OTKs. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be considering things. Tunings, quick draws, Burning Abyss. Burning Abyss with Cherubni. Now, we don't know when we're getting Cherubni either, which is shocker. All the good ones we don't know when we're getting. And you can't very well do the Gem Knight OTK with the Gem Knight monster without Summon Sorceress. I mean, I think you can, but like, just really, how good is it going to be? How consistent? You know, it's just kind of something to consider. Woohoo, food time. I love these discussions.
Welcome to Winnie's. What may you started with?
Can I get number 4, please? Medium size with Coke, no ice.
Hey, Robbie.
Hello.
You doing 435?
Yeah. And that'll be it.
No nuggets or junior bacon?
Nope, not tonight.
Alright, go ahead, 4 rounds.
Alright. That's quality service, if I tell you what. The unfortunate part is Ultimate Dandelions and Ultimate Tunings. The ship has sailed on that investment. If you're spending $25 on an Ultimate Dandelion, well, you don't really give a fuck. You know what you're doing. You're a man of elegance. You know what you're getting yourself into. I would honestly even say that Ultimate Globe Bulbs have kind of set sail at this point as a potential investment. But Burning Abyss is still very much a functional dream if you want to pick up everything just to kind of have it. Skarms kind of calm the fuck down off of their last potential buyout. So there's a lot of potential still there if you want to go down that route. Now, investment-wise, Burning Abyss isn't another bad alternative to a Tier 2 deck. I don't personally have any issues with it, and I don't think you will either if you're going to try to play competitively in the near future. Just something to consider. Cherubni does help. How much? Kind of depends. So, there's food for thought for you there. Now, we've talked about Wonder Magician. Wonder Magician's definitely something else you might want to consider up on Yeel hype train for Crystron Needle Fiber. But, you know, ask yourself, well, if I'm already complaining about the price of Wonder Magician, do I want to pay the price for her? Because I'm going to have to pick up Needle Fibers and go down the rest of the path. So, it's either do I want to spend a lot of money or do I not want to spend a lot of money? If you definitely want to go down the budget trail, well, no. Look at Trickstars and honestly look at Burning Abyss. The extra deck on Burning Abyss is not that bad in price. Dante's for the most value, they're not a lot. And that's honestly not an issue whatsoever come the TCG. I don't see any real reason as to why those two methods should not be affordable, unless your budget's $20, and then, well, you shouldn't be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Honestly, because you're not going to have a fun time. If my budget was limited to $20, I would definitely consider getting some friends that have more stuff available to them, and just seek to borrow cards. You know, this is one of the big alternatives to the game that I think a lot of people kind of like to disregard or pretend like it's not there. Mooch off your friends. Friends, like, see it this way, like, if somebody's doing financially better than you are and they're playing the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And they have every deck in the game, go talk to them about using one of their decks for the tournament. You might not know what the fuck you're doing with the deck, and you might not have an idea, but get your fucking feet wet. You know, you gotta explore new waters and go to brand new lands, you know, change your attitude, and you just gotta remember, you still gotta catch them all. So, if we've learned anything throughout our time playing card games, it's mooch off of other people, because, you know, I've heard plenty of stories from poor people, and when I say poor people, people not as well off, but they still want to play the game. You know, you have alternatives present to you. You know, like, I've also heard the joke of people, like, wanting to do Yu-Gi-Oh! Rental services for shit, but, like, don't do it, you know? And somebody's gonna take the word poor to, like, too literal of a sense. But just understand, talk to people, network. You know, it's one of the things that you can do if you don't have the funds and you still want to play the game. You know, I've lent out plenty of cards to plenty of people that I know throughout the course. Now, if those cards get returned, well, that's another story. Take note of what, if you're on the flip side of this video and you're borrowing or lending out cards, fucking please take note of what you are lending out to people. That way you get it back. Because the amount of times you don't get cards back is extremely high. And, you know, every once in a while, like, I don't mind if I loan out an Upstart Goblin and it doesn't come back to me. Yeah, Devin, I'm talking to you. Just kidding. Devin, you gotta learn to return your stuff, though, buddy. Like, you're so terrible. You know how hard me and Keegan had to go look for fucking Pot of Desires because of you? It was really hard. So, something to take note of. But that's my food for thought for this current rendition of things. Definitely understand that there are plenty of investments out there, plenty of alternatives, things present to you, plenty of ways to get good at the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's pretty much all I have for this food for fun video. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'm out, guys. Later.